Yesterday we talked about the most important thing, separating the divine and human aspects of a person. The human aspect needs to be overcome through prayer. That is our fate. Everything difficult you see in a person is part of your own fate. Don't focus on that. The more you focus on it, the worse your life becomes. You need to pray and learn to see the divine in a person. To see the divine in a person, it must be manifested in life. For it to be manifested in life, everyone on earth should have an altar at home. It's essential for a close person to show their feelings towards God. For them to feel His presence, spiritual music is needed. You need to bless the food when you prepare it, according to your faith and your tradition. Don't change anything. You just need to understand one principle, for the Lord to live in a person's heart and manifest Himself more fully. I told you yesterday that it is God who attracts us when we fall in love with a person, that the best in a person comes from God, you understand? Our goal in any relationship is to elevate that relationship. For example, sex, material interests, our constant worries, all of this weighs down relationships. It makes them rougher, more down to earth, more primitive. This chains us to a base perception of the person, meaning their human aspect becomes more prominent. As a result, our fate begins to exert more influence. The person starts to torment us more, and there's more suffering. When we pray more near them, have more blessed food, more God, more elevated relationships, we see more of what we saw on the first day of our acquaintance with them. The higher and purer the relationship, the more purity and beauty you see in them. The less suffering there is. This is a general principle of life for everyone, always, on this earth. This is the first and most important rule. If there's an altar in the house, there's conscience in the house, and the family won't fall apart. People tell me, Dr. Torsunov, we were living just fine, and suddenly he decided to leave. This means only one thing, young lady, only one thing. Your relationship lacks God. God equals conscience. If you worship at home and think about God, if you bless the food, the conscience in his heart will gradually deepen, and he won't be able to leave you, because conscience doesn't allow it. When life is pragmatic, materialistic, low, sex, work, home, all kinds of worries, conscience moves far, far away from life, and then it's not there at all. A person just abandons everything as if they never lived with you. You see what I'm talking about?
Where is the best place to create an altar?
The best place is in a room where you do not sleep, preferably facing east. You can make it in the kitchen. Where there is food, there is God. You can even bless the food. It's best to cover the altar. It's best to follow the faith you adhere to. If you don't have faith, just place holy people there. Holy people are always connected to God. You can put any saints, holy people who are close to you. That will be your altar. God responds to everything. He has no boundaries. He has no faiths, no religions. He loves everyone. He lives in everyone's heart. Faith and religion are needed to build a special relationship with God. You can see a huge difference between a Catholic church and a Vaishnavite temple. The difference is just in the flavor of the relationship with God. Here, everyone dances and sings for God, rejoices, while there, people meditate on God in a state of separation. They contemplate Him, cry for Him sometimes in separation. It's just a mood, that's all. That's the whole difference. If you make an altar at home, it elevates your life, purifies your life, and many issues are easily resolved. But this is secret knowledge. Most people don't understand how it works, but it works. You ask me a question. Do you think I see all of this? The Lord lives in the heart, and if you are sincere with a person and with God, He easily gives you an answer. He shows everything like a picture. You just need to make sincere efforts. Just like I told you everything, God can personally help you without me if you establish such a relationship with Him. First, God in the heart gives a person peace. Raise your hand if you started praying last year after our retreat, and this year you have more peace in your heart, in your life. This is the first stage, peace. Peace appears in life, more certainty. The second stage is knowledge. Raise your hand if you started understanding how life works. The second stage is knowledge, and the third is victory over fate. And this exists in life. Victory exists. I've experienced this 1,000 times in my own fate and in the destinies of my acquaintances, friends. God showed me how this world is arranged, how much I need to know. Of course, this knowledge is infinite, but He showed me a lot. The last time He showed me a very amazing thing, I arrived in Minsk. At the first lecture, the hall was packed. This had never happened before. There wasn't even standing room. One woman really wanted to attend the lecture. She kept asking, and there was one free seat. They sat her there. They said that if someone comes, they won't be able to do anything. No one came. She was writing everything down, taking notes. Then suddenly she felt unwell. A doctor rushed over and checked her pulse. He saw that her heart was stopping. They laid her down and began doing CPR. Another doctor came over, gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and pressed on her heart. I sat down and asked the whole hall to pray. It all happened in minutes. The whole hall began to pray. I saw a woman dressed in white enter tall, reaching the ceiling, a giant, a goddess. She approached her and stood behind her. At that moment I felt that she was already gone. She had left life. Death had come to her. It stood right in front of her. The whole hall was praying, and I tuned in, deeply thinking about God at that moment. And miraculously I saw that God was showing me everything. She stood there and then left. At that moment she started breathing. Then the doctor said that her heart had stopped. She had clinical death. We kept going and she started breathing again. Then, as soon as death left, the paramedics arrived. They took her and brought her to the hospital, but she never regained consciousness, and 2 days later, she passed away. What is the lesson here? Death showed me how prayer works, how the name of God works. It could have taken her immediately. It had no plans to give her life. It was decided, which is why the woman was so determined to attend the lecture. It is very auspicious to leave the body when 400 people are praying for you. This is God's mercy toward her. Later I spoke to her son. He agreed as well. He listens to my lectures. He also thinks the same way. No one really understood the cause of death. The time came. The person passed away.
How old was she?
Around 55, about my age. That's how old. I'm not talking about that right now. I'm telling you that death could have taken her immediately. The person didn't regain consciousness. She doesn't know that this was a delay. She didn't regain consciousness. For her, there was no delay. The delay was for us. It showed us how prayer works. Death showed me once again that even death can retreat if a person thinks about God. I saw firsthand how it works, once again because I had seen it many times before, and all the people who sat in the hall also saw it.
If she had to leave, she would have left anyway, even if death retreated.
It retreated to show us how prayer works. Death didn't have to retreat. It did because we prayed. It showed us how prayer works.
That's understandable. But what if the person was destined to die?
Your thinking is incorrect. In most cases, what you call destined to die happens differently. In most 90% of cases, there are scales, and on these scales is either our spiritual strength or fate. I've experienced this many times. I've even had cases where a person was in the ICU on a ventilator, they weren't breathing, and then they started breathing again, fully recovered, and lived on. We prayed for them, and at the very moment we prayed, they started breathing and living. I've had such cases too. You can't say that if someone isn't breathing, then that's over for them. Death came and it's over. In most cases, fate is overcome through spiritual efforts, not material ones, spiritual. You don't have experience with this, so you don't understand what I'm talking about. I have experience. According to my fate, I was supposed to go to prison at 48 years old. I saw this when I was 24 years old. As a result of intense prayer, praying 8 hours a day, the people who put in tremendous efforts to make it happen, they couldn't succeed, because I defeated fate with the help of prayer. That was God's decision. He was granted victory. But your experience is different. You have an experience of doom. If something starts, it ends badly. That's your experience.
It was a good experience. Thanks to your lectures, I've won many times.
Then why are you arguing with me?
I'm not arguing. I'm trying to understand.
I'm explaining to you. Time has a cyclical influence, and there's also a direct influence. Direct influence means aging. A person ages peacefully 80 years, then 90, the person dies, passes away. They don't worry much because they understand it's time. And then there's the cyclical influence of time. The cyclical influence of time can be very strong, unyielding, and then fate can take a person away. Sometimes fate weighs us down, and we simply need to make efforts. There are 3 types of efforts. The first type of effort is through nature, fresh air, running, fasting, and static exercises. These push diseases away from a person. The second type of effort is serving people, loving people. This pushes away the suffering related to our social life, suffering connected to work, family, societal standing, children and parents. Love for people pushes it away. You love people in general, and this love attracts to you the power that removes your distance. Fate in relationships with people improves. Always, in every case, if you pray to God, this is the third type of power. Even the hardest fate begins to dissolve and recede because of that prayer. Even when someone is supposed to leave this life, and I've had such cases, they simply learn from God that everything is fine. No need to worry. God shows them the future, shows what's next, and says, don't worry, but you need to go. It's your time to leave here. You need to go. And then the person leaves peacefully. Again, they overcome their fate. To overcome one's fate doesn't mean to stay here forever. It means understanding your fate, your future. This is rare, but it happens, though not always. Most often a person simply overcomes their fate because most often fate wants to test us. It doesn't want to take something away from us. It wants to test us so that we become stronger. This is the meaning of human life. What I'm telling you, I know. You say, I want to understand. Look deeper into me and you will understand. This morning after the lecture, I did yoga and prayed at the same time. I focused on all of you and pierced through your energy with my prayer. Do you feel how easy it is to listen to the lecture? Such light energy. All the questions are being resolved, right? This is the result of a relationship with God. Yesterday the energy wasn't like this, but today everything is easy. Do you feel it? This is how energy works because that's how prayer works. I want to talk to you about such complex topics today, which I've spoken about many times, but still, it doesn't enter deeply into people's hearts. That's why everyone has problems. The first thing you need to understand, and it's very, very important to understand, is that in family life, everyone has difficulties. Why? Because where a person's strongest desires are, relationships become very painful. Strong desires, when you want a lot of happiness from another person, strain relationships. Happiness in relationships occurs when you serve, give yourself. Then there's no strain at all. Love lives only in the attitude of service, in the energy of service. You must give. You give and then you wait for gratitude from the person. If you give to God, you don't need to wait for anything. He gives back immediately because He is selfless. The exchange with Him happens very quickly, but giving to God is very hard. He has arranged this world in such a way that He doesn't show us that we need Him. I'll give you an example. A woman greatly needs a man greatly needs a woman. All people greatly need children. People strongly need parents. There is a need, and therefore people are drawn to these things. God doesn't show us that we have any need in our relationship with Him. Even though it seems like there's no need, it feels like He doesn't exist, like I don't understand what it means at all. A person makes efforts to build a relationship with Him. They immediately receive feedback, an immediate result, immediately. But in a relationship with a husband, you won't get such a result because both I and my husband are selfish. What does it mean to be selfish? It means that the energy of love doesn't work correctly from the start. We don't want to serve like God. He wants to serve everyone. He wants nothing for Himself. We want to take. Therefore, the return doesn't come immediately. You serve your husband, and you need to wait a little, or serve your wife. You need to wait a little, and the time will come, and what will happen? Gratitude will come in response. But there is one problem. The question that the girl asked about service, humiliation, humility, and dignity, this is a very relevant question. Very relevant, my dear friends, in relationships with a close person. It is so relevant, so complex, that please listen very carefully now. Now you understand what I'm talking about. You won't be able to achieve it immediately, but if you start on this path, you'll greatly ease your life. What am I telling you? That your desire to be happy from this person is a powerful force. And this very desire that you want happiness from this person is also the sword that destroys your family life. You're pulling happiness from them, they rebel, they don't want this violence. When a person wants something from their close one, it's not just a desire. A young woman approached me yesterday saying, Dr. Torsunov, I don't bother anyone in my personal life or in life in general, but they all fight with me. You don't need to bother them. We have intentions in our hearts and desires. These forces act with great power. If you have an intention towards someone, you decide that they aren't very good, and you have certain desires for them, then this will affect them. And this action destroys relationships. It also gives birth to demandingness towards the person. Why aren't you marrying me? Why don't you work? Why don't you register our marriage? Why don't you value me? Why don't you sign the papers? Why don't you appreciate me? Every person on this earth is very tense and self-absorbed, and every person on this earth is selfish. Just as you want him to marry you for the same reason he doesn't. The more I want him to marry me, the more I pull this towards myself, the more his desire disappears. That's how the system works. Try to understand this. I'll give you a simple example, but this doesn't concern you, doesn't concern me. But this is how the system works. If you strongly want to ask me something, it's harder for me to give you the opportunity to ask me. Not that I know this. I specifically look at who wants it badly, and I don't want to ask this person. I just know how the system works. I go against the current. You raised your hand, right? The woman next to you. Where is she? Gone? I didn't want to ask her. She really wanted to ask me, but I asked her against my will. She wanted it badly, and that's why I'm asking her, but I almost stopped. I can't ask her because she wants it so badly. I'm just giving an example of how the system works. It's not that she's bad or good. I'm telling you about how the system works. How else does fate work? Let's say a girl thinks everything is good in my life, let her ask. I say, no, you ask. She says, no, let her. Why does she speak like that? Fate operates secretly. It doesn't show itself. And the person has already decided to do something that will cut off their existence. If you could see your life through prayer, you would see the coldness coming from this person in your life. You would see that there's nothing left there, just coldness. This is how your destiny works in relation to them. But it seems to you that everything is fine. Why? Because you cannot understand it. You don't have enough depth in your relationship with your husband. Study these topics thoroughly. The moment when a person completely calms down and thinks everything is good is a very dangerous moment. At this time, fate can punish them. It does this cunningly. Always be vigilant.
I really wanted to ask you something, but you already gave the answer in this morning's lecture.
You can come up after the lecture and ask. My dear friends, listen to me carefully. What I'm telling you now is very, very important. The first topic is the sword of Damocles. I strongly desire something, and my loved one is not doing exactly that for me. In my personal life, I really wanted my wife to cook delicious meals for me. When I was living with my mother in childhood, she won 8 culinary competitions in our district. Can you imagine how well she cooked? My wife doesn't mind cooking. But because of my strong desire to eat, which comes from my past life, when I died in a concentration camp from hunger. I died of hunger in my past life. Because of my strong desire to eat, my wife gets very tired when she cooks. But when I overcame this desire within myself and stopped craving it, it became easier for her. I'm just giving you examples from my own life to make it easier for you to understand. You have the same thing. It seems like a great injustice when a close person doesn't do exactly what I want. It seems like, how could he not do that, such a scoundrel? Now listen further, that's not all I wanted to tell you. The most important thing you need to understand is that the desires that destroy a person's life can be neutralized. There is only one way to neutralize it. When a person stops focusing on their desire and begins listening to those who pray, starts praying in their mindset. In other words, they tune their memory not to their desire, which memory is naturally focused on, but through their willpower, they focus their memory on the voice of those who pray. In this case, a person's desire begins to cool down. This is very important to know. This is a very important point. Cooling down desires doesn't mean, I don't need anything from you, get out of here. Cooling down a desire means creating opportunities. How does the system work? When we want something from a person, we are essentially trying to take energy from them. We will speak from the position of energy. We want to take energy from a person. The more energy we try to take from them, the more we get nothing in return. That's how destiny works. But if we take energy not from a person, but from nature, good people, and from God, then our heart calms down regarding desires toward our loved ones. At that point, we can start giving them the excess calmly. This doesn't mean giving everything away. Give a little when your mood is great. Do it in such a way that you don't exhaust yourself. If you exhaust yourself, that's a problem too. You'll expect something in return again. If you've exhausted yourself because of a close person, served them too much, and then think, no gratitude at all, why did I do this? Don't exhaust yourself. Serve as much as you can. A person should be filled in order to serve their close one from God. Serving requires energy, health, and health comes from nature. Learn to love it. Learn to love it. Then you'll be able to love your loved one. What does this mean? It means you'll have enough mood, energy, and concentration. All of this comes from nature. If you feel like you don't have the strength to do something for your loved one, it means you're living incorrectly. You're lacking contact with nature. If you have contact with nature, you'll have strength, mood, and you'll be able to give to your loved one. When a person has the right contact with people, this is a more complex topic because nature is everywhere, but with people it's more difficult. They've all become wild. We're living in a time where people are isolating themselves, drifting further apart. When I came to San Francisco to give a lecture, I went out for a walk. There were no people on the streets. I asked the organizers, where are all the people? And they said, everyone is in their cars. No one walks the streets. There are no people, just emptiness. Everyone's driving. That's modern culture, civilization. In the culture before ours, it was different. People were much closer to each other. They walked the streets. They communicated. There were no televisions. They had nothing else to do, so they talked. Now everyone's watching TV. They have things to do. They don't need communication. TV gives us more quality interaction. There are actors performing. They're more emotional, more professional, with sharp plot lines. We find it more interesting to watch TV than to look at another person. But this doesn't allow you to live because it's precisely relationships with people that give you the strength to neutralize the influence of fate connected to personality. For example, when a woman has strong friendships with other women, she gains the energy to get married. The strength and energy for a woman to get married comes from her relationships with other women. In relationships with women, a woman feels stronger, more resilient. When she feels stronger, men start to respond to her more. This is how she wins them over. Similarly, men become stronger through relationships with other men. In relationships with women, men tend to lose a bit of themselves. After getting married, a man often has less energy to work, to achieve social success, or to study. It's better for a man to focus on these things before getting married. Once he has matured as a man, he may feel a little weighed down by personal life, but eventually he will regain his strength. I am explaining these mechanisms to you, but the most important thing is to understand the principle. How can you create love in a family? First, you must calm down and stop wanting something specific from your loved one. If you don't do this, nothing will change and nothing will help. You must stop wanting it in the literal sense of the word. He doesn't want to marry me? Well, I'm fine without it. This doesn't mean you leave him. I'm fine without it. And just leave him. You don't leave. I'm fine without it means that everything has calmed down. From this moment, destiny begins to be overcome. What should you do next? You need to take strength from God, from good people, and from nature. Invest in the person, serve him, be happy for him, and care for him. But you must understand one thing. First, invest only as much as you can, without feeling humiliated. Simply give from the kindness of your heart, as much as you can. That's the first rule. The second rule, remember, if you give something to a person and then feel like you want something in return, it means your intention is not pure. Give selflessly, offer everything freely. If you give selflessly, it's a guarantee that the person will change. It's a guarantee. How do you know if you're giving selfishly? If your sense of self-worth diminishes, you feel weaker when serving your husband, more dependent on him, get offended easily, feel like he's pressuring you, and feel powerless. This means your service is not flowing correctly. You're seeking something in return. Instead, you need to give and forget about it. Take strength from God. Pray to God to receive something in your life. Think about him. Ask from him. Exchange with God. There is full reciprocity with God. The energy of love should flow mutually. Without mutual exchange, there is no love. We expect this kind of selfless love, what is called unconditional love, from a loved one, but you won't get it. Between two people stands egoism, meaning fate. You won't get it. You must cultivate reciprocity in your relationship with God and just invest in the loved one, starting the mechanism of your relationship with them. What does start the mechanism mean? Wait, the time will come when gratitude will awaken in their heart. This means your selflessness has melted their heart. Gratitude will start to flow from them. They will develop the desire to marry you. Gratitude will flow through them. When gratitude flows from them, that's when reciprocity begins. You give to the person, and they are grateful. But the gratitude will never be equal to the service you gave. This is always true in life. Children may be grateful, but they will never give back as much as their parents invested in them. Try to understand this. We cannot expect full reciprocity from a loved one. Love will flow between you. They will become grateful, and happiness will come into your life. This doesn't mean there is no happiness between a man and a woman. Happiness is there if you don't expect it. Love will arrive unexpectedly, when you least expect it, and every evening will suddenly feel so wonderfully good. If you are waiting for it, nothing will come. If you are waiting, it means you will start to feel humiliated, offended, and if you feel humiliated or offended, you will become unattractive. If you become unattractive, you may even be abandoned altogether. A person cannot live with someone who does not bring them any joy. They need some enjoyment from their loved one. A man, too, when he runs around, jumping on his hind legs in front of a woman, she cools off, loses interest in him. He loses himself. He seems like a good person, but I don't love him. Why? Because he loses himself in the relationship. On the other hand, a woman still needs to be served, otherwise how? She needs service and care. This doesn't mean jumping around on your hind legs, it means noble service. Noble service comes from a person filled with God. You see, when a person expects something from another, they lose themselves, they become unfulfilled, unhappy, and that's it. The most important thing is to understand the principle. The most important principle in this life, which brings success and happiness to a person, is called the principle of faith. We are all here because we want to believe in God. People don't come here without reason. This is a place where if a person doesn't want to believe in God, this place won't let them in. This is a holy place. Here everyone believes in God. Whether they want to go to the temple or not, it doesn't matter. God allowed them to be here. Remember one simple truth. Even if you believe in God deep in your heart, most likely you still believe in a person. People dream of human love. This dream is called faith. This faith must be neutralized by serving God. At the moment you start dreaming about God, you will find happiness in human relationships. As long as you dream about a person, you destroy your ability to be in deep relationships with them. Dreaming robs your love. You dream about them, this means that you're consuming them. If a woman dreams strongly about someone, she doesn't give him the opportunity to marry her. That's how the system works. In this case, the person is doomed to failure. I'm telling you about love and faith. We are learning what love and faith are. If you notice this in your heart towards a person, you are doomed to failure in the relationship. Towards a person, there must be love, gratitude, love, service, love, purity, love, nobility, not love, faith. What you are hearing now is love, faith, and it can only be applied to God, only to God. If you apply it to a person, if you expect from them, if love, faith exists towards a person, there will be no happiness in life. Redirect this energy to God or you will not find happiness. Who is she singing about? It's about a person, but who should we sing such songs about? Who brings the dawn? God brings it. Who brings the sunbeam? God. Whose light footprint is on the dew? God's. All songs about faith are very beautiful.
What is this song called? It's so beautiful.
You bring me the sunrise. I don't have bad songs, right? You are discovering new songs for yourself. Where do I get them from, right? My dear ones, what are we talking about today? We are talking about love, faith. It's interesting to know that this song means the person who feels this way will not get married. My dear ones, you will get married. Love, faith always leads to the same result. And all of you in life have definitely already experienced this result because the memory of love, faith remains in the heart. A person always feels it in their heart, either in youth or in maturity. This love, faith is always destroyed by God. Always. Faith belongs only to God in this world. You understand? Here's another beautiful song. A beautiful song, right? My dear ones, these two songs are connected to each other. All the songs related to faith are very beautiful because faith comes from God and the most beautiful thing in this world is the Lord. So keep this in mind. If you have a strong desire for deep love from a person in your heart, first of all, your family will be destroyed. And second, what you're seeking will not happen either. Because these are just tests we must pass. Seek an experience where you keep this with you, where you love someone deeply and stay with them. This experience may happen, but even in that case, it will be very difficult to achieve. And in the end, this love will become simple. It is impossible to preserve this between people because this love and faith belong only to God. The sweet intoxication from your word made me believe, and nothing else. Once a year the gardens bloom, waiting for the spring of love. Only once, just once, the gardens bloom in our souls. Once means you can only believe in a person's love once, and after that you'll be afraid to believe so deeply again, because you've already experienced that feeling. But there's a system here. The system is that we all want happiness, we all want love in this world, and without it, it's impossible to live. It's impossible to live. A person must gradually transfer their love to God, and as soon as they make this shift, they will be able to build happy relationships with others. There's only one condition. Expect nothing from anyone, just give and care. If you expect something, problems will arise. Where there is expectation, fate intervenes. Give, care, discipline a person, and educate them if they've become arrogant. You have enough self-respect for this. If a person doesn't expect, they are worthy, they are strong. Only those who expect to lose themselves. All others who do not expect always fill others up without losing themselves. This means you can educate a person. When can you do this? When you're not afraid that the person will get angry or distance themselves from you. It's the same with children. If you're dependent on a child, you can't educate them. If they sulk, you run around after them on your hind legs. But you need to overcome this dependency on the child. Educate them calmly, step back when necessary, approach them when necessary. Then they will grow into a reasonable person. They will love and respect you all their life. So did you get the song? Good, let's move on. The next topic of our conversation is life periods. This is a difficult topic to understand. Most people listen to this from me, but when it happens in life, they are surprised. What is this? Most often people don't understand what karma's impact on personal life means. What does karma do to relationships? It literally extinguishes feelings, and this is a temporary phenomenon. Feelings can fade in relationships in two ways. The first way is contamination through improper living. What is contamination through improper living? We live for pleasure. We enjoy each other. We're high on each other. We don't want to serve God. Everything is great for us. Everything is Coca-Cola. We live in Europe. This means that gradually the relationship will start to come down to earth. Coming down to earth means there will no longer be depth, purity, and elevation in the relationship. There will be nothing to talk about with the close person. You won't be able to open your heart to them. Between you, there will only be work, family, home, work, family, home, sex, work, family, home, sex. That's it. This is not love. Relationships come down, come down, come down. The next stage, there comes a moment when you become cold with each other. Then it becomes unpleasant, and then you part ways. This signifies the desecration of love. Love, which has a divine nature, and love means seeing divine qualities in a person, you have grounded it. You have switched to the human aspect of the person. You have turned away from the divine within them. It signifies the movement of love, the circulation of love through sex, through the apartment, through the house, through money. The circulation of love is very impeded. The energy of love does not move through these energies with great difficulty. The energy of love flows strongly when there is purity, elevation, when there is God, when you read sacred scriptures together, speak of holy people, go to the temple and pray. You see purity in a person. These events are understood from this perspective as love, but in reality you begin to see that the person is very good, pure, faithful, bright. You see in them what you saw at the first meeting. It was all in romantic colors then, but now there are different hues. You see that this is the same person with whom you have lived for many years, but they are actually very good, pure, bright, because you saw this frequency in them as a result of serving God. You have purified your relationship. There is such a term as purification of family life, purification of family egoism. This is a very important moment in the life of every family, and people don't really do this. How to purify family egoism. How to ensure that relationships are not offended and that purity is preserved. For this, there is a rule, which means an altar in the home, which means blessing food every day. The rule means inviting friends to your home, feeding them blessed food, talking about elevated things, not getting drunk, not crawling under the table. Even if in a European way, you have a glass of wine, not drinking too much, just a little, it's still not the same. You need to invite people into your home. This is how the Lord comes into the house, through people, because the Lord lives in people. If you invite friends to your home, feed them, take care of them, talk about sublime things, they leave, and purity remains in your heart. You may have quarreled with your husband before this, and after you have served your friends, they leave, and you are already smiling at each other. Your environment has been purified. What troubled you in your relationship with him no longer concerns you after this. And even if you just feed the birds, put up a birdhouse by your window, and sprinkle some food inside, the birds will come and peck at it. Your family egoism will already diminish. It will be easier for you to live in this family. The atmosphere will be better, even if you feed your neighbors during holidays. A good reason. A holiday has come. Call them. In Europe, everyone is very reserved. The neighbor says, "Yes, I'm listening." And you, "I brought you some pastries. It's a holiday today." "Oh, thank you very much. All the best." Takes the pastries and leaves. It will still make things easier. You need to constantly find joy in the people around you. One Vaishnava in America goes out on New Year's, dressed in saffron clothes. He sees an elderly woman walking. He says to her, "Hare Krishna." The grandmother replies, "Merry Christmas to you too." She didn't hear him clearly.
What else purifies relationships?
Relationships are cleansed when people go out into the yard, plant flowers, beautify the territory around them, when they go to the temple and feed the needy there, when they go to perform some service, when they travel to holy places, pray together, go on pilgrimages. Rest is a very important thing in a person's life. Rest means free time. Free time is very important. Right now you've made a mistake. Instead of going to Karlovy Vary, you went to this place where nothing is arranged. What kind of rest is this? It's some kind of yurt. From the perspective of relaxation, it's nonsense. But you will gain 1,000 times more here. Maybe it's not such a comfortable environment. You sleep there as if in a barrack, resting. The environment isn't very comfortable, but you will experience tremendous changes within your heart. This means resting in a holy place. There's no other place like this in Belgium where there's such a Vaishnava atmosphere. There are many Christian places. That's good too. I'm not opposing it. I'm just saying go to some holy place for rest. You can find such holy places where there are good hotels, enough relaxation, but you will live under the canopy of holy energy. We did this. I'm leading up to a promotional break. We organized a festival. It's just a resort because 150 people who pray constantly every day serve this festival. An atmosphere is created there that when you arrive, your heart just bursts with happiness. Just recently, before this, I was in Tallinn. A young man came to our festival. He came 5 times. On the 5th time, the festival accepted him. What does this mean? That he found a wife first. He found a wife at the festival, got married, and then the festival helped him find a job too. He was completely satisfied with this festival. This is a real story. In other words, I'm not saying that your only limitation is our festival. Seek your own rest. You have time to relax. Look for places in Europe where there are temples, where the atmosphere is pure, some temple complexes. Rest there. Feel happiness. Your life will change significantly. If you go, say, to a beach to relax, everything becomes defiled there. People are indulging. They walk around singing, la 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 la. There will be befoulment of your life. There will be less purity in your relationship with your husband. Your husband will look at promiscuous women around who are looking at him, making eyes at him. Maybe he won't agree this time, but next time he'll go alone. It will be easier when the wife isn't around. What am I trying to tell you? I'm telling you how to purify your relationships. You all tell me, Dr. Torsunov, you're saying the same thing. Dr. Torsunov, our love is dying. It fades for everyone because people live incorrectly. Love needs to be cleansed. The older the family, the harder the relationships. This is one song. I told you there are 2 songs that destroy. This is one of them. And it occurs most often. They get stuck, tired of each other. I recently found a song, maybe not so beautiful, but interesting, because it talks about this exact thing. The love of tired swans. Tired swans. They lived incorrectly, got tired of each other. Now it's too late to sing songs. That's it. The topic is closed. What does the love of tired swans mean? People have defiled love with material life. They haven't elevated their lives. Family life is meant for God. If they haven't elevated their lives, there is no purity in their relationships, no conscience in their relationships, no depth in their relationships. This will lead to the love of tired swans. People get tired of each other. They enjoyed each other for a while, but gradually everything fades. Happiness from each other fades. That's it. The second problem is that even if people live correctly, I was asked at a lecture, we repeat the prayer. Why are there problems? Today, one young man asked this, and this is already a different topic. This is not about tired swans. This is about a difficult period in life. There comes a time when feelings fade. For a short period, for 6 months, for 8, 9 months. But people sincerely think that that's it. There are no feelings. I always give this anecdote as an example. An 80-year-old grandmother went to the doctor. The grandmother says, "Doctor, something is wrong. I can't urinate." The doctor replies, "Well, your urine is gone. You're 80. He sent the grandmother home. The urine ran out. She's already 80 years old. And people think, that's it? Love is over. Like in this joke. The doctor had incorrect thinking. A person sincerely thinks, well, I don't love, I don't feel. He caresses me. Nothing happens. What's going on at all? Maybe he's not my person. Maybe I made a mistake altogether. Raise your hand who suddenly has no feelings for a person right now. That's right. Bad period. You're having a bad period. The girl in the back, bad period. You'll have to endure for another 6 months. And it seems like it will never get better. That's it. I'm leaving. It seems like nothing will ever be the same. But in reality, fate is leading you by the nose like this. It's impossible to live what's going on. You have no happiness with the person. What is it? How to live with him? And it seems to the person that this is forever. But this is not forever. You have one thing layering on top of another. There's befoulment in the relationship. That is, it was already weak before, and now a bad period is layering on top of it. There's nothing at all, no feelings, emptiness. Often these 2 pitfalls come at once. A person stepped on one rake and it hit them on the head, and then when they stepped on the second one, well, it's completely impossible. That's how it is for you. You live together incorrectly, and now there's also a bad period, but it will only last for another 6.5 months, then it will be easier again. It is important to know that this period is not permanent. Everyone loses their feelings at this time. There comes a time when a person no longer feels close to their partner, and they feel it too. But if you live with God, even if they don't feel you, they can't leave because their conscience won't let them. What is conscience? It is God. He doesn't allow a person to leave. A person starts to drift away when a bad period comes. They drift away but can't fully go because God is holding them back. He has a grip on them and won't let them leave. They move forward but can't truly depart. That's what conscience does. They think, he's a good person. How can I leave? A good person, but they can't leave. It feels uncomfortable, as if something isn't right. They can't leave, and then the bad period passes and they don't want to leave anymore. Everything is fine between us.
How often can such a period occur?
You experienced such a period 2.5 years ago regarding your wife. You lost your feelings. And hers just recently ended, lasting for 6 months. 3 months ago, she lost feelings for you.
There was a strong period that lasted a year when we even lived apart.
Yes, that happens. Then you came back together. That's right. Astrologers are good people. You already know this from my lectures. People just got married and went to an astrologer. He looked at them, a kind person, and said, "You will have 3 marriages." But this is their first marriage. He blessed them. If someone comes with another person and is told they will have 3 marriages, what does that mean? Why live with them then? There's no prospect. 3 marriages mean I will have 3 children with 3 different men, and only the last one will stay with me. Why would I want that? The question arises immediately. They are very religious people, prayed to God, separated twice, reconciled, and even officially divorced twice, then got back together, 3 marriages. They went through it and now live normally. I'm giving extreme examples. It's not necessary to actually divorce. You can just have a bit of fate separating you and then come back together. God keeps people together, no matter what. Love arises as a result of God's influence. It is God who binds people together in their hearts. It is His connection, not ours. He creates a thread between people and keeps them connected. If people are deeply immersed in a relationship with the higher truth, their self-esteem strengthens and they become worthy and beautiful in their relationships. If we believe in a person, we begin to depend on them, which leads to humiliation in the relationship. Humiliation means they will leave you. Humiliated people are needed by no one. Always be gentle and fluffy in relationships. Never be slippery and unpleasant. A person should not feel humiliated in a relationship.
Can it happen to both?
Yes, it can happen. One becomes proud while the other feels humiliated. It pushes both apart. One person begins to feel pride while the other feels inferior. If both are proud, there are no relationships. They are at a distance from each other.
No matter where?
It can happen that they both feel proud and live in different places. They feel proud and cannot meet, or both feeling humiliated also remain distant. 2 humiliated people cannot be together either.
I mean, when fate has torn them apart.
When fate has torn them apart, it means incorrect thinking. The person feels there's no happiness with the partner and seeks another. That's how fate tears apart. Fate does not force us. It doesn't give us a push. You walk and walk to buy bread, then bam, you get a push, and you walk away from your wife. And then you think, what am I doing? Where am I going? And go back to your wife. Fate doesn't act that way. It provides a feeling. It says, why go there? You have nothing there anymore. Look at those beautiful girls over there. Go there. Fate deceives a person in their mind.
How long does it last?
How long? It all depends on the choices a person makes. If a person succumbs to provocation and is attracted to some girl, they immediately lose love for both their wife and children. Because a man loves his children through his wife, he loves his children through his wife's eyes. If he falls in love with another woman, he can't love his children the same way as before. He thinks, damn, I probably never loved any of them at all. His memory of everything that was is knocked out. He falls in love and no longer remembers that he loved his children, doesn't remember that he loved his wife, and goes into another life. That's it, hypnotized. A woman's love hypnotizes a person.
How to understand that God is keeping you in a relationship?
If you're connected to each other, meeting, communicating, you need to include God in your relationship, in your life, and then check those relationships. If there's a growing closeness, try it. This is just how fate acts. It's a different topic. I showed you that there are 2 things in relationships that destroy them. The first thing is the befoulment of relationships, the tired swans of love, so that you have some associations. The second thing is that a difficult period has arrived. Everything was fine, and suddenly, I don't love anymore. When a person doesn't love, they can't live without love anymore. They start looking at other people. Dreams arise in their hearts, and they further destroy the family. But there is another topic. The other topic is called simply heavy family karma. It means it's difficult to get together with a person. It's just hard to be together. We get to know each other slowly. We create a family slowly. This is your situation. There's a wall between you, and this wall is overcome through prayer. You pray to God, the karma softens, and you come closer.
How long does it last?
Fate is the same everywhere in all relationships. How can it work? And fate always has 2 swings. The first swing is to quickly come together, but the person is not responsible. It's not interesting to be with them. The person is responsible, but it's very slow to come together with them. These are the 2 swings of destiny. In Russian, you might say, you want someone tall and beautiful. Fate is heavy. You either get a tall but not attractive person or a beautiful one but not tall, so you have to choose. Another example, 2 swings. A person drinks. A good person, they have a job, but they drink and behave badly. There's a job, there's money with them, everything is great materially, but the person drinks and behaves badly. The second option, they behave great, but they have no job and no stability. That's how destiny works. Does that mean you have to choose? You should always choose a good person. 2 bricks fall from a house, and one says to the other, yeah, don't worry, the main thing is that the person is good. Everyone needs a good person. This is the main thing, a good person. And you have a good person, so pray, strangle fate. And how does fate act? It makes you doubt, just a little obstacle, and the person thinks, maybe this isn't mine, maybe this isn't it, where is the right one? And they begin to doubt. That's what destiny does. But if a person prays, there's no need to doubt. Go that way. Overcome fate. If it doesn't work out, you still win. You don't know this principle. Doubts always destroy life. There's a shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, Samshayat manina najayate, which means the doubting soul will be destroyed. Samsaya means doubt. The doubting soul, Atma Vinasyati, will be destroyed. Nayam loke, not in this world, stina paro, nor in the next. Nasukam, there is no happiness, samsayatmana, for the doubting soul. That's how fate works. It plants doubts in a person. Goodbye, happiness. There will never be happiness, so go into relationships. If you go the wrong way, you must understand that you need to go towards your fate. Fate has given you a man. Pray and enter into a relationship. Go into it with all your strength. If this person doesn't agree to live with you, then you've worked off your fate. God will provide another, and everything will unfold quickly. You see what I mean? I'm saying that in this world, we are only dealing with our own fate, not with people. If a husband leaves, you should always try to bring him back. If he doesn't return, God will give you another. If you've worked off your fate and your heart feels lighter, you won't worry about him leaving anymore. You feel that everything will be fine, and everything will be fine because either God gives you another or this one returns, which is even better. The person who boldly moves forward in life never suffers defeat. They always win in life.
How much should one pray?
Pray as much as you can. You pray, get tired, can't pray anymore, then stop praying. Pray as much as you are able. What causes fatigue? It comes from the mechanical nature of prayer. The more love you have in your prayer, the less fatigue you will experience. If a person loves God deeply, they can pray for days on end. It also depends on how much time they have, but generally people get tired of praying. So you pray, and become fatigued. Why fatigue? Because prayer brings fate to the surface. This is another topic for discussion. A person begins praying and says, Dr. Torsunov, my life has become even worse than before. It was somehow normal before, but since I started praying, it's become really bad. Because how do people live? They always postpone their fate for later. Everyone desires happiness. No one wants to suffer in the present. So they push all their suffering back into their hearts, further and further back. Suffering goes further and further into the heart and accumulates there. What is prayer? When a person starts praying, what do? They pull everything out of their heart. Consequently, everything comes out. I feel worse, Dr. Torsunov. I prayed. Keep praying, you pray, the dirt comes out and it starts to stink. Keep praying, you'll cleanse it and everything will be fine. If you pray for half a year, a layer of fate burns away, life becomes good, then the next layer will come out. This cleansing period can last several years during prayer. It means you're avoiding a great misfortune. How do people live? They live thinking, everything's fine with me, everything's fine, and then suddenly they're swept away by a wave. That's how it is in this world. A wave comes crashing down and that's it. The person turns to drugs, becomes disabled, or ends up a failure. No one notices them anymore. No one pays attention to them. That's it. They're erased from memory. Then the next person thinks, everything's fine with me, everything's fine with me. Suddenly, they too are swept away by a wave. This is how people live in this world. Why? Because bad fate accumulates and builds up. Then, bang, it hits them hard on the head, and it's all over. The reverse process is prayer. A person begins to pray and pulls things out of their heart. At first, it starts to shake them up for a while. Raise your hand if you started to pray and your life became harder. That's normal. Keep waiting. You've already ground through 60% of this difficult period. Just 40 more, and everything will be great. You've avoided major trouble. You need to overcome fate, not live on these waves thinking, life tosses me around like a ball, I roll as long as I have strength. You shouldn't live like that. It's incorrect thinking. Prayer brings everything to the surface and cleanses the heart of dirt accumulated over years of repeated births and deaths. This morning at the lecture, did you feel how I was explaining? In the temple, in the presence of my teacher, Srila Prabhupada, in the presence of the altar, in a very favorable atmosphere, did you enjoy it? It was a pure atmosphere. Did you enjoy chanting the names of God? Did you feel the purity? You felt joy. A person's heart opens when they feel God. This is a very ancient tradition, very ancient. In the past, people worshipped God in a state of deep happiness. They danced in circles, danced and sang for God. Over time, this evolved into dancing just for men. But before, everyone danced and sang for God. There was a different culture before. People rejoiced in God. People lit fires, invoked the Lord into the fire, and danced in circles around it. The Lord can be present in fire. The Lord can be present in a statue if people invoke him there. In an icon in a picture, if people worship a holy person, that holy person enters this image, and through it, one can connect with that holy person. That's how this world is arranged. If a person thinks about a photograph of their relative who has passed away, the relative becomes connected to them through the photograph. If a relative can be connected through a photograph, why can't God? Is a relative better than God?
What should one do if they think about a person and can't forget them?
If you think about a person, this is called faith in a person, not in God, but in a person. It means there will be no one else in your life until you believe in God. This state is called stress. There's nothing you can do about it. You need prayer until you shift your focus to God. What should you do? You need to walk. You need to receive energy from nature because you are weakened and have no strength. You need nature. You need to walk in fresh air and connect with kind people. Spend more time in the temple. Did it get hot? The energy is now being released. Your stress is coming out. A woman helps another woman. A woman begins to love and treat others kindly. You need to give yourself. You need to give yourself to women. You're tense and not giving to anyone. That's why you're stressed. You're being stubborn, thinking, I want only this person. That's it. No women. Relax and give yourself to people.
If a person has left us, can we connect with them through a photograph if this person has already connected with God?
When people leave this world, they don't reunite with God right away. Their subtle energy body is first reformed, and then they go to their destined place to live. If they live in paradise, they live directly in the subtle energy body. If they live in hell, they also live in the subtle energy body. If they incarnate further, they are born somewhere again. I can say that if contact with them remains, they don't remember you. I conducted this experiment. My grandfather was born in China. I started remembering, praying for him, recalling him, and he began to worry. He's already an adult now, and he started to feel worried because he loved me very much. He didn't even want to pass away until he saw me. He started to worry, but he didn't know why. There is such a concept as a guardian angel. The Lord remembers you in the heart of this person. There is still a connection through him. Sometimes a person remembers their past life in a dream, but doesn't understand that it's their past life. They simply experience this dream. They help everyone and take care. This is how contact with one's loved ones occurs through dreams. In the dream, the person thinks it's just a dream, but they sincerely want to help. That's how they help relatives. The connection remains, but the person doesn't remember. If they are born in paradise, they remember their past life and really help, becoming a guardian angel. If they are born on earth, they lose the memory of their past life. But if they pray, they can restore their memory. I started to remember my past life, to restore my memory. What was there? Something there. What was I doing? Why is it like this now? I can somehow understand already. 8 lives ago, I served God very strongly and achieved very serious things, but I offended a holy person and fell down for 8 lives. Now I've just started to climb out, sobered up, and understood certain things in this life through suffering. I understood what I was doing before. Gradually, the knowledge came. The spiritual path is very complex. One must be very careful in relation to believers. One should not think badly of them. They are representatives of God for us. Then your spiritual path will be strong and solid. You will never fall down. A person lives forever, but if they are in the material world, they are constantly taking an exam. In this world, everything is arranged like this. If you don't go towards God, life will not be very good, to put it mildly. God does this cleverly so that people come to him. That's how everything is arranged here. Paradise is not the best option. When a person stays in paradise, they live there for a long time. Enjoy life, don't work, just spend their pure goodness. When they have spent their pure goodness there, they fall back to earth again and are born in Europe, all beautiful, noble, with very good manners. They don't want to work because they didn't work for 10,000 years there. They're out of the habit, they don't want to work. When they try drugs, at this moment they start to feel the happiness that was there, because drugs are not alcohol. Alcohol binds a person to hell, while drugs bind to paradise, but a person doesn't get to paradise after drugs. They feel this bliss of past lives, they remember it, and they think, to hell with this work, I'll just use drugs. After paradise, in the next life, a person becomes a drug addict. Why? They can't live here. It's not interesting for them here because they didn't work for 10,000 years. There are cases when a person starts to work again, lives well again, restores their pure goodness, and goes to paradise again. There is such a small cycle. Paradise, earth, paradise, earth, paradise, earth. There is another way to paradise. When a person engages in spiritual practice, they get to paradise. but they don't feel the paradise life. Conditions are created for them for further spiritual life. You, however, don't want asceticism practice. You want happiness in the next life. This desire is very dangerous for you. If you live correctly, you'll get to paradise, enjoy yourself there, and again back to earth. It's impossible to stay. It's like a resort. It's best not to want paradise, but to serve God. When a person wants to serve God, they also get to paradise, but there's no paradise life there. They perform asceticism practice, go further than higher and higher, and they end up in the spiritual world. The spiritual world is not paradise. No one returns from there. They remain there forever. A person lives in a spiritual body, communicates with God, and serves Him. The spiritual world is intended for serving God, while paradise is for enjoyment and serving oneself. Where a person chooses, there they end up. You should study how this world is arranged. We have discussed 3 things related to personal life. The first option, fate is destroyed when a person befouls their life. Too much sex, too many thoughts about work, too many thoughts about business lead to love melting away. This love of tired swans cannot last. Eventually, they cannot live together. First, they cool off towards each other. Then they feel disgusted with each other and completely separate. The second option is a bad period of life. Feelings are knocked out, and a person thinks, damn, how can one live like this? It's impossible to live at all. No feelings, no happiness with this person. She gets an idea that there might be happiness with someone else. She starts dreaming. Sooner or later, dreams come true. A person leaves another person because the other has entered a bad period. The third option is called heavy family karma. There's a wall between people. A person doesn't take responsibility and doesn't get close to you. They have issues that don't allow you to love them. The man has no job. The woman has no children. There are obstacles that don't allow you to love a person. This means heavy karma. In this case, one should pray to God. Karma melts away, and a person gains an opportunity. When a bad period related to personal life occurs, love is knocked out. Then female friends help women, and male friends help men. You need to engage in the relationship. Not enough love? You can get love not only from your wife, you can get it from friends and society in general, from kind people. In the second case, when a bad period comes, kind people help. In the first case, when love cools off, usually, people live with each other for a long time. They cool off gradually. You need to change your lifestyle. You need to worship God. You need to spend vacations differently. Evening time is meant for love. It should be spent differently. In the evening, you shouldn't want to watch football. Women watch and embroider something, knit, and chat with their female friends. Evening time is meant for family. When the moon rises, it's time for love. One should live for the family. This way, a person begins to serve God, spends evening time correctly with family, tries to serve loved ones, cares for everyone, and revives love. Buy flowers, get together with your wife or your husband without alcohol. The song doesn't say anything about that. Flowers, moon, communicate kindly with each other. During this time, colors become more gentle, flowers become more beautiful, and faces become more beautiful. Revive relationships, revive feelings in relationships. Don't watch football or hockey in the evenings, but simply spend time with each other. This is an asceticism practice. At first it seems uninteresting and boring, but if you start living like this, you will feel happiness. You need to engage in relationships. The girl didn't want to be stroked, but it relaxed her in the end. It's the same in close relationships. It seems we don't have time, let's do something. Why sit around? Soon, you won't sit at all. You'll completely drift apart. Love is needed, communication is needed, relationships are needed. This is an asceticism practice at first, but after this asceticism practice, it feels easier, it feels good. You need to spend time together, talk about something sublime. If it's not interesting to just chat, then read about dignified people and talk about them. Learn to cultivate this in your life. At first it will be uninteresting, then it will become a refuge. You need to spend evening time with family, not watching football, hockey, embroidering, or something else. Everyone has their own interests. Women have theirs, men have theirs. But if we don't want to communicate in the evenings, it means we're destroying the family. Time is important. Morning time is meant for overcoming one's fate. Daytime for work, and evenings are for relationships. We need to live like this. If your loved one doesn't want to live like this, it means there's already a wall standing. This means you need to turn to God. Prayer is needed for them to want it. That's it. There's a wall between you. A bad period is going on. If he never wanted to, it means the atmosphere at home was always bad. There was not enough prayer, not enough purity. You need to feed your husband blessed food. You need icons at home, and you need spiritual music. The heart will gradually thaw. He's blinkered by work. When people are very deeply immersed in worries, they lose relationships. This is called befoulment by activity. A person becomes befouled by activity. They become dry, inaccessible, and heavy. Why? They have lost the taste for happiness, for relationships. There's no happiness in relationships anymore because they're not living correctly. This is called living in vanity. This is an incorrect life. It can be overcome with the help of God, with the help of nature. You need to go to nature, and again in nature. You shouldn't run around, gather mushrooms, or play tennis. Look at each other, communicate. In nature, you need to meditate, serve each other, take care of each other, and see each other. You need to thaw out your husband gradually. He's blinkered by work. He's not receiving energy from nature. He's not receiving the energy of love. What does this mean? It means that the person is fading. Time will come, and there will be either drinking or drugs or another woman. If all this is already happening, you need to pull the person out of degradation. Pray to God. If he behaves badly, although he's a good person, just help him. Communication changes life. Communication. I've had such situations. A person comes to our festival. He comes completely frozen, totally. He comes because his wife said so. I won't go alone. Accompany me. Just go to the sea. Just do something. Do what you want there. Just be with me. Clever tactics. She comes. There are 1,000 people there constantly saying, I wish happiness to everyone. There's no disco music playing there. Constantly, I wish happiness to everyone. Constantly this atmosphere like here. Here is also a small festival, a spiritual atmosphere, and food is prepared with prayer. He ate, slept, walked by the sea. He saw everyone so happy, greeting each other. So he thawed out, went to play football. He sees someone playing football from the good people. So he went to play football, and just 2 of them outplayed the whole team together. He says to the one he played with, "You're a real man. Well done. That's how it should be. Not those lectures, all this, I wish happiness to everyone stuff. Here's where men should be outplaying others in football." The other answers, "Actually, I'm a lecturer from the festival. Come to my lectures." He went to his lecture saying, "I'll only listen to this lecturer. He's a real man." That's it. That's how she thawed him out. God helped. We have a short film where a wife dragged her man to the festival. He was completely frozen. It's a short film. I think it's on YouTube. There's a film about a man. She drags him by the scruff of the neck to the festival. He's completely out of it. The film starts. He's watching TV, and she's carrying the suitcases herself. Classic genre. They gradually thaw him out there. They show how he gradually thaws out. He leaves feeling normal. He becomes a real man, in short. Next topic, let's continue studying our family life. I've told you very important things, fundamental ones, which become a kind of stumbling block in a person's life. It's very important to understand the structure of the human psyche. We don't know ourselves. A woman thinks that she's so soft and gentle. She needs affection, care, and attention. She's very fragile. She needs protection. And that's exactly how a man perceives a woman. He thinks, now I'm going to live with her. She's so soft, gentle, and affectionate, and everything seems great. That's exactly what I need. I want to have such a woman next to me, with whom I will feel strong. But in fact, a man doesn't know that all soft, affectionate women on the outside have a strong and firm character inside. A person has 2 energy layers. One energy layer is external. For a woman, it's soft, gentle, affectionate, and pliable. She easily accepts any atmosphere and adapts easily. It's easy for her to build and establish relationships. If she comes to Europe, in 2 weeks she's already saying, "Thank you very much." While a man, even after 2 years, is still like, "Senka, take the ball." He's still not getting it because adaptation happens very slowly for him. A man's psyche is structured differently. A woman is very gentle, soft, affectionate, pliable, and caring on the outside. The thing is, when people start living together, they don't interact with the outer energy layer that brings pleasure. Instead, things happen a bit differently. A woman has a very firm psyche inside. She has a strong and unyielding character. What does this mean? A person has behavior and character. A woman's actions are very soft. Her behavior is pliable and accommodating, but her character is very firm, strong, and unyielding. For a man, it's the opposite. His actions are very rigid and his behavior is very tough. Externally, a man looks very tough and unyielding. It seems you can't do anything with him. It's like beating one's head against the wall. It seems you can't do anything at all. It feels useless to even try anything. This is how a man is structured externally. But inside, a man is very soft, pliable, and changeable. His character is constantly changing and never standing still. A man gets dumped and shows weak character. Then you look at him 5 years later, and he has developed. You meet him, and he's a completely different person. Because he has developed, a man changes. His character changes. A woman doesn't have the experience of her character changing because her character is very stable and immovable. For a woman, it's her behavior that changes. For a man, his character changes, but his behavior doesn't. Whatever habits a man has, they will remain. Whatever views a man has, they will stay. They will change, of course, but slowly. How he relates to work is how he will continue to relate to it. For a woman, everything can change. Habits, views, work, everything can change. But her character will remain the same. So how do we choose a person? When a man chooses a woman, he should consider just two things. Most importantly, he should understand if he can handle her character or not. Her character. How much can he handle? A woman doesn't show her character at first. When she's building a relationship, she's all nice, kind, soft, fluffy, and affectionate. You need to communicate a little. Don't get close right away. You need to communicate for about half a year. When she starts to be capricious, at that moment her character will come out. You see if you can handle the pressure or not. If you can handle it, then marry her. There's one more thing about a woman that she can't do anything about. This is her zone of desire. Every woman has a zone of her insurmountable desires. There are things that she strongly wants in life for her happiness, and this zone has different material components. Some women just want to spend time alone. It's free. It doesn't cost money. Another woman wants beautiful jewelry, and it's not free. You can't do anything about it. If a man thinks she'll stop wanting it, that's a misconception. She's more likely to leave you than to stop wanting it. A third one wants to go to a resort somewhere. This desire will also never go away. A fourth one wants, let's say, to eat sweets. Well, it's also not too expensive. You can live with that. A fifth one always wants more living space. This is already expensive. It's already difficult. A sixth one wants to dress beautifully. There are different price tags here. She may have different ideas about beautiful. What does this mean in practice? How much does beautiful cost? Find her zone of enjoyment. Every woman has a zone of enjoyment that she can't leave for her entire life. Whatever it is, it is. She will live by this and you can't do anything about it. Moreover, this affects all areas of her existence. For example, I have an acquaintance, a rich man. It often happens that a rich man finds exactly this type for himself. His girlfriend likes jewelry. Imagine once there was a unique case. We came to my acquaintance who deals with precious stones in India. We started looking, and his girlfriend liked a long chain made of 5 rows of emeralds. The price was steep. He was scared of such a price. I'm treating her, and I see that nothing else suits her. She has very high sensitivity. She put on the emeralds, and I see her energy working excellently. The chain relaxed her. She says, I like myself so much in this chain. He says to her, are you kidding me? Let's try on something cheaper. Okay. We try everything on. Nothing suits her except for this chain. He says to her, my precious. Then she wore this chain throughout her entire pregnancy. Everything went smoothly and she gave birth. In general, she feels great and doesn't take the chain off at all. Can you imagine? In other words, only expensive jewelry suits her by fate, and there's nothing you can do about it. But he's a wealthy man. He can afford it. They suit each other. But sometimes there is no match. When a woman chooses a man, she should look at 2 things only. The first thing is where his thinking is moving. There are men who are moving upwards and willing to change their lives. Usually these men are not very developed or cool, but they are working on themselves. Such a man reads prayers, goes running, he does something. He may not be very developed, because if he's working on himself and is also developed, then he's already taken. You won't find such a man. The second category of men are those who are going down. Such a man can be developed, very cool, but he drinks a little bit. He has this European lifestyle along the lines, well, we're all free people. I do what I want. The person's thinking is going downwards, but he's cool. He has a good character. He's all cool. But his thinking's going down. You shouldn't choose such a man. Because where the thinking goes, that's where the man goes. It's very difficult to change the direction of a locomotive. Where the locomotive has started to go, it will go there for the rest of its life. It would be a feat to change it, but it's very difficult. Very difficult. A man going upwards means he's changing his life, working on himself. This is the first thing to choose. He may not be so influential, but he will change over time. Women, this is the first thing you need to choose. Second, look at his habits. It's very difficult for a man to change his habits. Some men are womanizers, some men like to drink. He may be working on himself, but he relapses. He may all of a sudden get lost in alcohol. If you can't handle his relapses, then don't marry him. 2 things. A man should have the right habits and should be moving upwards. This is the best man. He will always be changing, becoming better and better. The best woman is one whose character you can handle and whose desires correspond to your wallet.
3 months, 6 months, let's say. We were both young. I thought we would rent a place. He was 19, and there were no prospects. I was studying. He was studying. We had no money, no apartment.
You have good family karma. Why are you sharing your experiences with me?
Well, you're saying that at a mature age, a person already understands a lot and looks at habits.
I have young girls sitting at the lecture. I'm talking to those who have a life in front of them.
I'm just curious.
Curious? Let me share an example. In Yekaterinburg, I gave a lecture about how a woman should prepare herself to choose a husband, to find herself a husband. A 60-year-old woman raises her hand. She stands up without waiting for me to ask her and says, Dr. Torsunov, I won't ask a question. I just want to tell you something. I started doing everything you talk about in your lectures, building self-esteem, connecting with female friends, and so on. Now I have 3 candidates. I'm choosing from 3 candidates. All 3 are young and handsome. This woman is truly a beauty. I'm sharing practical advice. I am not saying you should push your man away now and look for someone new. God will punish for this. If you have a man, work on improving him. If you don't, focus on learning and gaining knowledge about how to choose wisely. How to choose correctly? I'll now tell you something relevant about how fate sets traps for people. Let's talk about how fate sets traps for men with women. A woman has 2 types of beauty. One type of beauty comes from the heart. When a woman's beauty emanates from her heart, she's not very noticeable on the outside. It usually happens like this, either unremarkable on the outside and beautiful inside, or noticeable on the outside but not beautiful inside. When a man marries a woman who is very striking on the outside, she gives him a hard time afterward. A trap for a man is the external beauty of a woman. There is also a trap for women. There are men who behave ideally. They are so courteous, so cool, you know this type, like London dandy, well-arrayed, first coming to the world he made. You know, a cool type of man, read Eugene Onegin to understand what I'm talking about. Such men are outwardly very cool and impressive, but have nothing in their heart, 0. He can kill a friend in a duel. That means he has 0 in the heart, but outwardly he's so courteous and cool. Women always fall in love with such men with whom there is no perspective. Why? Because they have a very strong sense of self-worth. This is very attractive. They behave very gently and tenderly. They don't get attached to you. No matter how much you fall in love, he's always calm. That's cool. This makes you fall in love with him deeper and deeper. Why does he approach you? To get you into bed? He doesn't need anything else, this London dandy, you understand? Nothing else is needed. Women always fall for such men, always only for such men. Because a real man who can actually become a good husband is unremarkable. He has something different in his heart, inside, but he's outwardly inconspicuous. Women fall for striking men who usually don't want to get married, because everything they have goes outward, not into the family. They prioritize enjoyment over family life. You need to look into the depth of a person. This is the essence. This is possible if a person engages in spiritual practices. If a person is deep, then they can look into the depth of others. But if they don't see depth, then they always fall for external things. So I'm talking to you now about the external and internal layers of a person, what to do with this. You need to know the simple truth that it's important to always maintain the person's external energy layer, but live with the internal one. Let me explain. For instance, a man may present outwardly as very tough and unyielding. Good Lord, how can one even talk to him? He comes off as rude, dumb, not listening, inattentive, disregarding the feelings of those around him, and behaving as he wants. This is the external energy layer of a man. It's just the outer part. What needs to be done? You need to adapt to it. Ladies, don't humiliate yourself. Avoid self-humiliation. Allow him to feel very strong in the relationship. Here he is. Well, me? Yes, I'm respected. This is the external energy layer. This is his behavior. What about the internal energy layer? You need to influence it because a woman has the power to influence a situation significantly through the internal energy layer. What does this mean? It means never resisting or contradicting your husband. Always treat him kindly, and through this kindness in the heart, implant your idea in him. You prepare meals for him. You can think about how you want him to change. He will change in that direction because he is very malleable inside. You can say something kindly when he has eaten. He relaxes, and his external energy layer stops working. 10 minutes after eating, he sits down and smiles at you. At this time, you can kindly, gently hint to him, "My dear, I'd love you to do sports." Don't tell him, "Do sports," shaking from anger. You hug him and talk about your dreams. This goes very deep inside. You're recoding him at this time because your psyche is stronger. You're contacting his inner component, which changes very strongly under the influence of a woman. A man changes strongly under the influence of a woman if she has found the key to his heart through his stomach, as well as through caring for him, through not resisting him. He relaxed next to her and his heart became very noble. A man is very noble inside. A woman is noble on the outside, but not inside. Find a key to a man's heart. He will give you everything then, as in the song, "What can I give you, my dear? How to thank fate for bringing me to you? Maybe I'll give you this dawn? Yes? There's nothing impossible for me to give you." A man is very generous inside. He gives all the money to his wife. He's very generous inside. A woman is not very generous inside. If she earned the money herself, it's hot money. Don't touch them, you'll regret it. She will remember all her life that you took her money for your car. A man gives money and forgets. A woman doesn't give money and doesn't forget if someone takes it from her.
What about when a man doesn't give money at all?
There's no key to his heart. You're only perceiving the external energy layer. You don't see the man. You don't know his heart. There's no key to his heart. You resist him. You need to accept him as a man externally, enter his heart and change him. You say, he doesn't give money even towards child maintenance. It means you haven't entered his heart at all. I'm telling you, everything is in the cellar. Go to the cellar. You say, there's nothing in the house. There aren't even pickled tomatoes. I say, everything is in the cellar. Go to the cellar. You say, yes, there's nothing in the house, lad. And I say, there is. You need to go to the cellar and take it. You've never been there. That's why it seems to you that there's nothing in the house. But everything is in the house, just in the cellar. How should a man interact with a woman? He needs to encourage her external energy layer. She's very gentle, affectionate, vulnerable, and sensitive. Everything bothers her. She feels everything deeply. The world can be overwhelming, and we need to support her through it. He should reassure her, my dear, everything will be all right. This will be good, and that will be good, and everything will be good. Everything is fine. Don't worry. Don't be sad. Don't say goodbye. We have so much ahead of us. Constant support is essential. 24 hours a day. Support your wife, your woman. What about the inner energy layer? It's a mess there. How do we navigate that? You need to know this principle. In a woman's inner energy layer, there are zones you should never enter, and there are zones you should always enter. A woman has two zones inside. One zone is the cobra zone, and the second zone is the dandelion zone. Don't go into the cobra zone. It's a dangerous territory. You'll get hurt. Instead, always go into the dandelion zone. You just need to understand that a woman is not always stable or the same internally. If your wife has entered the cobra zone, if she's in a bad mood, don't approach her. Keep your distance. If a man asks her, why are you in a bad mood? She strikes at him. Don't ask, what have I done to you? Don't interfere. She even comes and says, I'm in a bad mood. Don't bother me. She even warns you. A man thinks, she's in a bad mood. Let's sort this out. Then she strikes like a cobra. Don't attempt to fix her mood. Do something else. Mind your own business. Today is your day off in the relationship. You're drawn to her, of course, because a woman creates the atmosphere at home. When she enters the cobra zone, the atmosphere in the apartment is terrible. Even cockroaches don't crawl out. Everyone feels awful, including the children. At such moments, she's taking a break from the relationship. She's in the cobra zone and doesn't want to kill anyone. When she feels bad, don't touch her. It's dangerous. A man thinks, I'll calm her down now. Yeah, you'll calm her down. She's tired of you, and you want to calm her down. You approach her and she says, go away. Why are you bothering me? In the cobra zone, anything can come out of her. Let's say you approach and she says, I have never loved you. If you hadn't approached, you wouldn't have heard that. The next day she'll tell you, I said that because I was in a bad mood. I've always loved you. There are zones that, on the contrary, you should always visit. When your wife is in the cobra zone, mind your own business. Don't engage with your wife. You're drawn to her. Don't touch her. Control your feelings. There are zones that you should always visit. Your wife comes running and starts telling you something, but you're watching hockey at that time. She won't have another time for this. It's all coming out now. Turn off the TV and join her in her happiness. Enjoy life. It's the dandelion zone. She's good now. I always love you. I've always loved you, and I will always love you. Thank you for everything. She hugs you. But a man is working on the computer. He has no time. She doesn't care. This feeling has arisen in her right now. Later, it won't be there. She needs it urgently. Let's go to the movies right now. That's it. Immediately now. Go. If you want happiness, it comes unexpectedly. The wife decides when it's happiness and when it's unhappiness. You've come to the sea beach to swim. Don't touch her. You don't know what will happen next. She doesn't know herself. If you ask her if she wants to swim or not, she won't tell you. Because a woman doesn't know when she'll be happy. She came to the sea and she touched the water with her foot. Oh, how nice. That's it. Go swimming with her. Today is your day. If she runs away from the water, don't persuade her. Swim by yourself. Leave her alone. Let her walk near the water. She might even say to you, why are you swimming? Don't you want to take me with you? You should approach and say, do you want to swim? She might answer, I don't know. Then ask her again, shall we go? She might respond, nah. Don't engage with her further, swim by yourself, and agree with everything. She will call you saying, I'm in a bad mood. Ask her, what can I do? The answer can be, do nothing. Do nothing then. If you need to do something, do it. Don't joke with the cobra, it will bite. That's the tactic. In general, gentlemen, the tactic is very simple. Don't mess with women, you'll regret it. Observe what's happening. If she's in the dandelion zone, enjoy life. If not, maintain your distance. That's the tactic. A woman serves her husband, she looks after him. When a woman serves a man, he doesn't show anything on the outside, nothing is visible externally. Everything goes into a kind of black hole. He eats, she looks into his eyes and can't understand whether he likes it or not. Everything goes into a black hole. Why? Because a man processes his feelings internally. When he eats, he thinks, wow, it's so delicious, great, but nothing shows on the outside. He absorbs the food. Then when he has absorbed it, he can show his emotions. Only after that. He starts smiling. Wait until things start coming back out of the black hole. Wait a little bit. A woman immediately reacts, oh, how delicious. A woman reacts outwardly, expressing her thoughts and feelings immediately. Men don't show anything. She hugs him and says, do you love me? He says nothing. It doesn't mean he doesn't love her. He's thinking. He immerses himself in his feeling of love. He recalls, he goes deep inside. After half an hour, he might say, I love you. She says, it's too late now. Wait a little. He's not that fast. He needs to understand everything. The system there works differently. For women, emotional responses are quick and immediate. For men, nothing is apparent on the surface. Even I don't understand. You understand? I'm at the festival. We have a men's club. I'm giving a lecture to men. They're sitting there listening. An hour passes with not a single visible emotion at all. What are they listening to? I wonder, are they even interested or not? I invite questions and they all respond with, Dr. Torsunov, what an interesting lecture. After the lecture, they came to talk. It finally sank in. The next day, it's the same thing again. They sit and watch with not a single emotion apparent. In contrast, a woman listens and reacts immediately to every word. Women engage in relationships right away. Their psyches are structured completely differently. Everything is arranged differently. We need to study this. We shouldn't blame a person for their psyche. When a woman enters the cobra zone, you shouldn't blame her for it. It's her nature. When her inner energy layer turns on, which consists of her character, she doesn't control herself. A woman's character is strong, which is why she gets married, so that someone can control her. She can't control herself. Her character is volatile, like a volcano. It shifts unpredictably. At times, she doesn't know what to do with herself. A woman's psyche is structured this way. She's inherently good. Women are inherently good, but they don't control themselves. Women are the better half of humanity. They are inherently good. They are kind and loving. They have a good understanding of things. They want peace, love, and goodness. They don't want anything bad. But it doesn't always work out well in life. Sometimes a volcano erupts and that's it. Nothing can be done. As the song goes, the heart perishes in the fiery lava of love. She has lava inside. A woman's strength is enormous. This song captures well how everything is arranged inside a woman. Men don't know this. They think she's soft and gentle. A woman has great power deep within. A man's strength is all on the outside. Inside, he's soft and kind. You need to change him very carefully. For that, you need to reach his heart and say kind words to him. Then he will gradually change. He may already desire change, but breaking through this outer layer requires a lot of time and effort. Once a man changes his path, let's say he starts running, he won't stop running for the rest of his life. Once a woman starts doing something, if there's no inspiration, she stops. Everything is volatile for her. Once a man starts doing something, he maintains that, but it takes a long time for him to get started in the first place. The fire-breathing lava inside a woman is an enormous, irresistible force. She often doesn't know about this strength herself. She thinks, I'm so pliable, so soft, kind, and weak. She doesn't know about this power herself. If she feels the time has come to leave a man, nothing can be done. She just goes whoosh away from him, and she is gone. He's bewildered. But I've already changed. But she doesn't ever come back. Why? Because when her inner layer is activated, there's no way back. A woman should know about her own nature. She should activate it in time. If you wish to educate your husband, tap into your inner strength. Don't be soft, gentle, and kind. Become strong and firm. It's difficult for a woman to activate this. She doesn't like it all, but it needs to be done. Then he will start to change. Distance yourself from him. Be strong. Show him your strength, and he will start to change. Do you understand what I'm talking about or not? When you need to change a man, don't just talk to him, you need to act. You need to take action. Then he will change. You endure until the very end. He changes when you take action, but it's already too late. Don't wait until the last moment. You need to take action earlier. If you've decided to punish a boy, take him by the hand and lead him to the corner. Don't tell him, I'll put you in the corner, I'll put you in the corner. Don't treat him like a girl. You need to immediately take him by the hand and lead him to the corner. Although you don't like doing this, it's necessary because he's a male. If you do this, the boy says, Mom, where are we going? To the corner. Why? You misbehaved. And he'll start thinking right away. He says, Mom, I won't do it again. No, you will. Put him in the corner. That's it, he will think next time. Because if you didn't put him there, he would think, I'll misbehave. I'll talk her out of it on the way anyway. That's how men's psyche works. He doesn't fall for words and promises, only actions. If you've lost your man, that is, humiliated yourself in front of him and become weak, he'll leave you. You need to be strong. Always learn to attract and punish him. Penetrate inside. Change him from within. Don't tell him anything directed at the outer layer. You should always speak to a man very softly, gently, unobtrusively, repeating the same thing 50 times. Do that always after meals. Even if men are listening to this now, they still won't do anything about it. Because that's how the deep system works. A man himself likes it when he's treated this way. The wife says, you should start running, you should start running, you should start running 50 times. On the 20th time, he'll think, maybe I should really start running, only on the 20th time. Why does she keep saying this? Maybe there's some sense in it. By the 30th time, he'll already be thinking about how to do it. By the 50th, he'll start running. From then on, the topic is closed. He won't stop. Then just encourage him a little, and that's it. You see, a man needs to be educated from within. That's why a woman should invest in cooking, in taking care of him. A woman is woven from influence. She herself doesn't know what's inside her. She possesses an enormous blessing or cursing power, including cursing. That's why men shouldn't mess with a woman. They can cripple their entire fate. A woman penetrates very deeply inside with her desires. Therefore, let the wife always bless, take care of her, do as she wishes, because she is here to enjoy this world, and we are here to overcome fate. She will give you energy for victory. If she blesses you, you will succeed in everything. Power flows through her. There are no weak people in this world. Women are woven from influence, and men are shaped by actions. A woman exerts a powerful influence through her inner energy layer. A man performs actions through his outer energy layer. For a man, all strength is directed outwardly. For a woman, all strength remains inside. A woman may feel helpless. She may appear helpless outside, but her inner strength is immense. Whatever she wants, that's how it will be. A woman doesn't do anything. She says, I want this man to be mine. And he becomes hers. She acts through desire. A man acts through deeds. To help you better understand what the outer and inner subtle energy layers are, I'll explain now. When a child is small, their outer subtle energy layer is not formed. Infants are always born with only the inner subtle energy layer. A little girl, 5 years old, how does she behave? She has a very strong psyche. You can't do anything with her. She can beat someone up there. She has such a strong psyche. She's very conscious. She understands everything. A little boy, let's say 3-4 years old, has no outer subtle energy layer formed yet. He still behaves like a girl. He is so pliable. He is always relying on his mom. That is, men are like this inside. They have a very soft psyche inside. At 17-18 years old, a girl becomes soft and pliable. The one who used to beat everyone. A man becomes brave and strong. Yes, young man? In youth and maturity, the outer subtle energy layer manifests itself fully. Women are gentle and affectionate. Men are brave, right? Further, as age increases, things change. In men, kindness gradually increases, while bravery and strength fade. In women, strength increases. Who are old ladies? They're a special form of life. Old ladies influence everything everywhere. A terrifying force. But at 18, she was all gentle and affectionate. At 60, she's a big old crone. A man is like a harmless dandelion. I'm going to the store. At 18, he was so brave and strong, everything changes. So if you want to see a person's inner subtle energy layer, look at the moment when they're falling asleep. When a man is falling asleep, how does he look? He looks so nice. That's why women like to be near a man when he's falling asleep. He goes to bed, she sits next to him, he's her person. She can do whatever she wants with him. She can stroke him, she can pinch him. He lies there, he is so kind. His inner subtle energy layer is like that. But when a woman falls asleep, she has such a face. You can't approach her at this time. Or when a person is eating. When a man is eating, you can hug him, approach him. He's so soft, kind, pliable. Why? because his inner subtle energy layer awakens, but when a woman eats, she usually doesn't let anyone near her. If you touch her while she's eating, you'll experience a different side of her. It won't be what you wanted to see because her inner energy layer awakens at that moment. She becomes firm, unyielding. Let me eat, don't touch me. You shouldn't approach a woman when she's eating. You shouldn't pet her, you shouldn't touch her. She prefers to eat alone so that no one bothers her. That's why she waits until she has served everyone else. She can then sit down and eat in peace. During this time, don't approach her or you might regret it. When a man eats, you can approach him, do whatever you want with him, kiss him, hug him, do whatever you like. You see how differently we are built. We should use this. When is the best time to resolve issues with a man? When he's falling asleep or eating. However, when a woman is falling asleep or eating, don't touch her, it will only make things worse. She'll say, "Leave me alone, I'm tired, I'm sleeping." Don't touch or engage with her, or you'll regret it. Same when she's waking up.
Please tell us, how can we punish gently, in a kind way?
The most effective way to punish is to become self-sufficient. When a person builds a relationship with God, they become fulfilled. You just need to feel this. I'll give you an example. You came here where people pray every day. This is a holy place. Do you notice that the weight of your suffering lessened? Do you feel that you're not thinking about the problem as much, right? This is the influence of a holy place. This is called a state of self-sufficiency. A person comes to a holy place feeling troubled or hurt in their heart or suffering greatly, and suddenly they feel that everything's not so complicated. It's not all that bad. Everything seems manageable. That's how a holy place influences. Gradually, a person gets used to the feeling that with God, everything is always fine. This is called self-sufficiency. Once you feel self-sufficient, only then can you punish a loved one kindly, simply by not talking to them. This is the best form of punishment, distance. Distance means less indulging the person's senses, but still fulfilling your duties towards them, not abandoning them, still cooking and cleaning, but with less close communication. If you do this without humiliation or pride, but with kindness, it improves relationships. He's drawn to you, he feels that you're in a state where you can give him happiness. However, you're not giving him anything, and he starts to ask, "What suddenly happened to you again? What's going on?" And you tell him, "Everything's fine, just don't do that." You start to educate. Even in mutual love, there's only torment. Why? Because that's how this world is designed. Don't expect anything from a loved one. He waited for her to calm down, and when she finally did, he thought, "You were silent for half a day, now I'll be silent too." He waited. He gave all his strength. He got exhausted. Now he gazes into the river, recharging, and she takes his hand. This is the nature of life, so don't waste your energy. If you were self-sufficient, you would have simply waited and that's it, without stressing out. I have a sauna hat that says, "Don't steam your brain." You wear the hat, you don't steam your brain. So don't steam your brain in relationships. Putting on the sauna hat represents self-sufficiency. It's not that you don't care about your loved one, you just don't know how to behave correctly. Educating someone kindly means being self-sufficient first, then you have the right to educate your loved one. If you're not self-sufficient or offended by them wanting something from them, you'll never be able to educate them. It's impossible. The cellar is locked. That's it. There are no pickles, and there won't be any. But when you're filled with God, feeling rich and self-sufficient, then you can educate, because this person is drawn to you. They feel that you're good, that you're filled with dignity, and therefore beautiful. You'll return beautiful from the festival, filled and enriched. Don't waste this newfound beauty. Don't try to figure anything out. As soon as someone begins to argue, they spend energy and lose power. Stay self-sufficient and everything in your life will be good.
How can I not argue if they're chasing me and arguing?
If they're chasing you and arguing, it's best to leave. Walk away.
If I leave, they call the police and say that I'm terrorizing the children.
This indicates a serious level of humiliation in your relationship. You can't do anything now. There's violence happening. You're being abused. You need to come to your senses. When you come to your senses, you'll be able to fight back easily. Do you understand? Let's say someone comes to me to argue or beat me up. But I'm strong like Schwarzenegger. My fist is about the same size as the other guy's head. Is he going to argue with me? Is he going to beat me? No, he'll negotiate with me. Why? Because strength emanates from me. So know this. Strength can just as well emanate from a woman. Even though women think they don't have strength, they possess enough inner strength. She should position herself correctly with a man, and he won't act insolently toward her. He may try, but once he sees it doesn't work, he'll calm down. You've simply allowed this person too much. You've let the situation get out of hand, I'm telling you. Understand this, every woman has inherent strength over any man. Mentally, you're 6 times stronger than him inside, you just don't believe it. I gave an example of an elephant. When they catch a small elephant in the jungle, they tie it with a heavy chain, which tears its legs to blood. This lasts for 3 months. Then it starts to feel that it can't do anything and calms down. The legs heal. They change the chain to a strong rope. It starts to try, sees that nothing works, but doesn't tear too much because it feels sorry for its legs. Then they tie an adult elephant with a rope that even a human could break. With a thin little rope, and it never breaks it. What does this mean? It means it's gotten used to being humiliated. Break the stereotypes. A woman possesses enormous inner strength, capable of handling this situation. Become self-sufficient. Don't try to do anything with him now. It's impossible. Become strong. Then you'll simply stop paying attention. Whatever he says, whatever he calls about, just ignore it, that's all. He understands that he can't do anything and he calms down. When a man threatens or demands, it means he's attached. Through this same attachment, you can calm him down. When he realizes he's losing you, he'll sober up immediately. And if he doesn't want to deal with you, then why react at all? He's a stranger to you. Give him the whole world. If he calls and starts yelling, you tell him, "Listen, let's talk later. I have a date right now." If he's completely left you and is trying to humiliate you, he asks, "What date?" You answer, "What difference does it make to you?" And you hang up. That's it. He immediately starts to perceive everything differently, saying, "How are you doing in general? Is everything okay?" To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.